Hello and welcome to the Mead Mule YouTube channel. My name's John, aka Mead Mule, and this is my first YouTube video. First off, since this is my first video, a little bit of background about me. Well, some of you may know me from my website, meadmule.com, or also from a few social media channels such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm on all of those at Mead Mule. I'm pretty active, especially on Instagram, as part of the whiskey community there. And I've been wanting to get into some YouTube reviews, talking about whiskey, maybe some beer, and maybe some other things eventually too, but probably mostly whiskey and single malt scotch. And that's what I'm going to start by talking about today. Specifically, we're going to talk about one of my favorite distilleries, Laphroaig. Now, before I get into that, as far as what I want to accomplish with my YouTube channel, that's a little bit to be determined. I want it to be a supplement to my website. My main focus is probably always going to be on written reviews, because that's kind of what I'm best at and what I like doing the most. But I have really enjoyed doing some video reviews in the past. I've appeared a few times on some other YouTube channels, specifically the Malted Man Cave, which is my cousin Keith. I've been on his channel a couple times, had a lot of fun doing some whiskey reviews. And for one thing, check out his channel if you haven't already, Malted Man Cave. He's a lot of fun, and I'd recommend subscribing. But in doing that, I realized this is kind of fun, and I'd like to do some of my own videos as well. So we'll see exactly where this leads. I'm not sure yet. It might supplement my reviews that I post on the web. I might take a look at some whiskeys and beers that I don't post to the website. So we'll see. Hopefully maybe I'll get some guests on too in the future. But today I'm going to talk specifically, as I said, about Laphroaig. Now, Laphroaig, if you are a single malt whiskey fan, I'm sure you're familiar with Laphroaig. They are one of the most popular single malt distilleries in Scotland and in the world. They produce a very heavily peated whiskey. They're known for their medicinal qualities in particular. They're actually the best-selling single malt whiskey from Islay, and one of the best-selling single malts, period. The last list I looked at, which was from 2015, so pretty recent, they were the 7th highest-selling single malt, which is pretty good. There's a whole lot of different hundreds of single malt distilleries. I'm not sure the exact number, actually. Should have looked that up. Anyhow, Laphroaig is very popular, and I've been a big fan of Laphroaig for a while. And I want to take a look specifically at two different Laphroaig whiskeys today. Quarter Cask and the 2017 Cairdeas, which is a cask strength version of Quarter Cask. Now, in Laphroaig's standard range, Quarter Cask is part of their standard range. They have a 10-year-old, they have a 10-year-old cask strength, they have Laphroaig Lore, which is kind of a more expensive, in my opinion, overpriced Laphroaig that is got some sherry influence. It's good, but it's expensive. They also have Laphroaig Select, which is not really that good. I would avoid that one personally, my opinion. It's kind of weak, and it's like the same price as the 10-year, and it's nowhere near as good. And sometimes it's the same price as Quarter Cask, and it's nowhere near as good as Quarter Cask. Anyhow, Quarter Cask is one of their standard range whiskeys. It is bottled at 48% ABV. It's called Quarter Cask because it is after being matured initially in bourbon barrels, ex-bourbon barrels, specifically Maker's Mark barrels, which is what Laphroaig uses. But then the whiskey is then transferred to smaller casks, quarter casks, which they get their name because they are roughly a quarter the size of a sherry butt. And so they're left to mature a little bit more, a little longer, probably, I'm not sure the exact amount, but probably another like 6 months or so in those quarter casks. Now this is a no age statement whiskey, so we don't know exactly what the age is, although I have read that Laphroaig has said on their website and other places that it is a blend of 5 to 11-year-old whiskey. Doesn't say it on the bottle though, so we don't really know for sure. It is, I mean, there's no doubt that it's a younger whiskey, but they tend to use, or it seems like they use, good quality casks, and as a result, it's pretty good whiskey. Age isn't everything in whiskey, and although I wish they'd tell us the exact age of this whiskey, just because something is only 5 years old or only 10 years old, doesn't mean that it can't be great whiskey. And Quarter Cask is a really good example of that because it's very, very good. It kind of takes the regular 10-year Laphroaig and tones down a little bit of the medicinal qualities and amps up some of the oak and vanilla and caramel, which we'll get to in a minute. By the way, one other thing I wanted to mention about Laphroaig, when you look at any Laphroaig bottle, you see at the top it mentions by appointment to HRH, the Prince of Wales, which is His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. So Laphroaig is one of a handful of distilleries over the years that have been granted a royal warrant, which means that they are an official supplier of goods to the royal family of Great Britain. I believe, if I remember correctly, specifically Prince Charles was the one who appointed them. There have been several other distilleries in history that have also been granted that honor. The first was Royal Brocla, and I actually just reviewed a Royal Brocla, Battle Hill, independent bottling, Royal Brocla. Battle Hill's the name of the bottler. It's only 5 years old, bottled at cask strength, 58%, and it was really inexpensive, but really good. I was really surprised by this one. I got it because I'd never had Royal Brocla before, and I'd wanted to try some, and it was cheap, and I was really pleasantly surprised. I actually just posted a review of this whiskey on meadmule.com a few days ago, so if you're interested, check it out. If you do see this, I would definitely recommend picking it up if it's roughly the same price I paid for it, which was $44. Pretty good price. Anyhow, one interesting thing, all the other, or at least most of the other distilleries that have been granted a royal warrant changed their name to Royal something, like Royal Brocla. They put that royal in the title, used it for marketing purposes, obviously. I guess Laphroaig could do that if they wanted to and call themselves Royal Laphroaig, but they haven't, and I'm kind of glad that they haven't. I don't know, it just doesn't sound right. Royal Brocla has a nice ring to it. Royal Laphroaig, nah. Anyhow, so quarter cask, cask strength. Well, the lights just went out on me. Computer, turn on concentrate.
Okay.
There we go. I'm gonna keep going. A little quirkiness to my first video. Why not? Anyhow, Cairdeas. I forget where it was exactly, but Cairdeas is Laphroaig's limited edition annual release. Cairdeas means friendship in Gaelic, and they put out a version of Cairdeas every year. Every year it's a little bit different. Last year it was a whiskey that had been finished in Madeira casks, which I still have a bottle of that that I'm saving for a rainy day. Very good, by the way. If you actually see that one, which you probably won't, it's at this point probably sold out most places, but if you happen to see that, it's good. This year's Cairdeas is, as I've mentioned, a cask strength version of quarter cask. So the regular quarter cask is bottled at 48% ABV. The Cairdeas version is bottled at 57.2% ABV. Sorry, I'm still thinking about those lights going out. In case you're wondering, the reason why the lights changed colors is I have a reminder set up to take out the trash on trash day, and the lights change color at a specific time to remind me to do that. I've already taken out the trash, so I didn't need the reminder, but I forgot that that was going to happen. So, anyhow. Taking a look at these two whiskeys, an interesting thing to note. So this is the regular quarter cask, and this is the cask strength Cairdeas quarter cask. Usually you would think, well, you definitely would think that if you had the same two whiskeys and one is bottled at cask strength and the other's been watered down, the cask strength version would be darker in color. I don't know if you can tell, but they're not. The regular quarter cask is clearly darker than the Cairdeas. Why? Well, unfortunately, the one thing that I don't like about Laphroaig is they do use artificial coloring in their whiskey, at least in their standard line. I don't know if they do it in every whiskey, but they do it in several of them. And I've heard them say that the reason why they do it is for consistency's sake from batch to batch. Okay, whatever. I'm not a fan of artificial color in whiskey. I wish it was against the rules, like it is with bourbon, but unfortunately it's not. My guess is that the Cairdeas is not colored at all. This probably is completely natural color, which is good, and that explains why it's lighter in color than the regular quarter cask. Now with both of these whiskeys, you're going to get a lot of similarities. Obviously, they're more or less the same whiskey, just different ABVs. There's a lot of, well, on the nose, a lot of citrus, there's lemongrass, vanilla, caramel, and of course, medicinal peat smoke. On the palate, you're going to get a good amount of fruits. Well, so much in the nose as far as the medicinal peat smoke, the vanilla, the caramel, salted caramel especially. Again, a little bit of citrus. What I really notice that's different with the Cairdeas is some of the fruits are toned up a bit. There's more tropical fruits like bananas and papaya. And really all the flavors are just a little more, they have a little more oomph to them. There's also a little bit more of that typical peat bog type flavors that you find in a lot of Islay whiskeys, such as tar and brine and things that maybe don't sound like they'd be good, but they are good. Regardless, these are both really good whiskeys. I recommend them both. I think that this is about, the Cairdeas is about $20 or so more than the regular quarter cask, and I think it's a good upgrade price-wise because it's got everything the regular quarter cask has and more punch to it. You can still add a little bit of water to bring the ABV down a little bit, and it really opens up when you do that. I do recommend adding a drop or two of water. You don't need a whole lot, but a drop or two of water really brings out a lot of the fruit and a little bit of floral elements. I did actually add just a tiny drop of water to this. Man, it's a really, really terrific nose. It's good stuff. I'm not going to get too detailed into tasting notes. If you're interested, I've posted reviews of both these whiskeys on my website already. If you're interested in a little more detailed tasting notes, you can find it there. As far as how I'd rate these whiskeys, for me, the Quarter Cask is just a really good, everyday, fairly inexpensive peated whiskey, and I would give it an 89 out of 100. Cairdeas is everything the Quarter Cask is, and just a little bit better, so I'll give that a 91 out of 100. All right. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoy the content of this and future videos. For my next video, I think I'm going to be doing a bourbon. September is National Bourbon Heritage Month, so it seems appropriate that maybe I'll review a bourbon or two next time, or at least talk about one. Until then, sláinte.